love it. Yeah, I know you're probably saying, yeah, no, I hate sales. But I think it's because sales has gotten a bad rap. Uh, and as much as different ways of selling have been around for many years, I hear references also like, oh, like a used car salesman. That still seems to come up here and there. But sales doesn't have to be ucky. And when I first started my business, I thought, oh my God, I can't sell. How do I sell? But as I've learned, it's not about selling. And I'm
Mm.
so fortunate that today on Make It Click, I have with me my very special guest, a former coach of mine that I love dearly, Paige Stapleton. Paige, welcome to Make It Click. I'm so happy to have you
Oh,
here today.
thank you. Thank you. It's so great to be here and to see you and chat, and I'm just looking forward to this.
Yeah. So yeah, we're talking of today about making the sale and how we can take a different viewpoint of that. But let's talk a little bit about people thinking that, oh, you're going to sell me something. Oh, I'm afraid to talk to you. And I had that with I was trying to help a young woman recently with some information, and then she asked me about something else. I said, well, I know so and so, and I said, let me connect you. Oh, but her issue was, oh, he's going to want money. He's going to sell me something, and she was afraid to talk to the person.
Mm-hmm.
How do we get past that? And just let's talk to somebody and not be afraid of that word.
Well, I mean, so a lot of people have had really bad sales situations. They have been hard sold to. They have had, they may have some kind of money challenge where they don't feel free that they can talk to people about money, about, that kind of commit. And so often there needs to be a little inner work done around your attitude towards sales. Often it's really around how you are as a buyer, is how
Mm,
you will sell as a seller, right?
mm.
So that's really something to take a look at. And then do a little digging on what are your past stories around sales, around buying, and around even providing your services. But I work mostly with people who are service-based business owners,
Mhm.
and heart-centered, and they don't want to come from a place of hard sale, used car sales, approach. And that's something I worked with over the years because, frankly, I didn't like sales when I first came into it. And I had to take a look at what my hangups were about sales and money.
Oh, well, okay, let's talk a little bit about that. So you had some hangups about sales. I wouldn't know that today. So
I know,
so
right?
what what changed for you? What switched? What did you discover that has made all the difference?
Well, so when I started my business, I had not any experience. I had no experience in sales. And and I was learning, and I was doing okay. I really learned about the ask. Like nobody can buy from you if you don't ask.
Mm,
So I think one of the big parts is that I realized if I don't ask someone to have a conversation with me, and if I don't ask them to work with me if I feel like we'd be a good fit or to talk about working with me, then I have just made a decision for someone without their
mm,
participation. I took that decision away from them because I never asked them. And
mhm.
so I made the decision no
Yeah.
immediately by not reaching out, by not, by not following through in the conversation. So that was really the first thing. And so that started improving my sales when I started deciding, oh, these are grown people. They can make their own decision about whether to jump on the phone with me. I don't believe in hard sales. I do not believe in pushing people. I
Mhm.
believe in becoming an advocate for whoever you're
Mm.
talking to. And so I come from that place in my marketing. I come from that place in my sales conversations and my reach outs. And and sometimes that does mean challenging someone on a thought process that's happening more for my own understanding, so that if I can help them further, we can kind of, I mean, I'm a coach and I've been a coach for 15 years, I can help with that.
Mhm.
And sometimes the answer is definitely, no, not this time, not this at this time, or whatever
Mhm.
that might be. But, and I'll just give you a great example, Christine, of when it kind of, like, that click happened for me,
Mhm.
right? I was in Myrtle Beach. I was in business with my husband, Brian, and I was having a sales conversation with someone. And it was a great conversation. And then when I got to the money part and all of that, she started shying away and kind of got quiet and wasn't asking questions and just wasn't involved in the conversation. And at that moment, and she said no. And at that moment, I was like, okay, well, I can let this go and honor your decision, that kind of thing. This particular, I don't know what happened, like spirit moved through me. I don't know what exactly happened, but all of a sudden, I was like, dig a little deeper with her. See if she's open to digging a little deeper so that we can find out what's really going on, because I don't really think it's about the money.
Mm.
And at that point, that's when I truly understood what it means to be an advocate. And it doesn't mean pushing, but challenging a thought and a thought
Mm.
process. And so I've actually brought that into my coaching as well. Um, and really, I guess that's bringing the coaching into the sales conversation. And
Mm.
so we ended up, and that's where the real juicy, authentic conversation began to happen, is when it was like, okay, let's just take a step back, and are you up for taking a look at this quickly? And all of a sudden it was like, oh my gosh, that's when I fell in love with sales, because I'm like, this is transformational. Whether she buys or not, I am being of service to this woman.
Mhm.
And it was the greatest feeling. She did end up saying yes, but not for coercion. She just understood things differently.
Mhm.
And I got to understand what the true objection was and could actually deal with that. But it changed everything for me when I decided to really be there with that person, and
Yeah.
um, and help them make the best decision for them, whether that decision is yes or no.
When you said falling in love with sales and helping people to make that decision, I'm right there with you. Like, as I
Awesome.
said in the beginning, when I first started, well, even prior to starting my own business, I was in a network marketing company, and as I can't sell stuff. I can't sell. Um, but as I have learned through the various coaching programs I'm in, of guiding that conversation of going deeper. I
Mhm.
love sales conversations. So many people still today that I've known for many, many years are still they're resistant to that sales. I hate I love sales conversations too, Paige,
Yeah.
because I help people dig deeper. And I know in the one coaching program, they had us do some trial conversations. It's like put it out to your friends, and see if they'll just, have a
Yeah.
conversation with you. And I still remember to this day several people like, "Oh, damn, I wish I was ready to work with you. You made me think of things I didn't even think about." So, yes, that the sales conversation helps the person. And I think we need to remember that. And I think you in one of our conversations, you said about it's helping them to come to that a decision and
Right.
not necessarily a sale. It's helping them get to, because I know I can't just leave people hanging. It's
Right.
like if I'm not the right person, then maybe can guide them in the right direction.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. And listen, you don't want to drag anybody into your business at all, whether
mhm,
you have a product or a service. And if you
mhm,
really do look at the sales as service, then you can connect with that take the dollar sign off their forehead, remove that human being in front of you, and have that genuine conversation about what they really want. And I think that, a lot of times I would say, because I listen to my clients' recordings of their sales calls from time to time. Well,
mhm,
regularly now, but and I love to kind of dissect them and say, okay, this worked really well, and then somewhere you stopped or whatever that is. And I will say that the biggest thing that is missing from sales conversation is helping that person with the vision of what they want, depending on what your service is. For me,
mhm,
obviously, it's, coaching, business coaching, and finding out what they really want to the degree of them describing it by color, by location, by what that experience feels like.
mm,
And oftentimes we're trying to get quickly to the sale, or trying to coach them or whatever, and don't really hang in that area of their vision and what they really want, and then talk about why you don't, and if you could have that, what would that look like. So that's one thing I want to make a big point about today, is making sure that in your conversations, because first of all, that's just fun talking about somebody's vision, and we don't get asked that all the time.
mm,
Most
mhm,
people don't have that conversation. They're not having anybody ask them, "What are your dreams? What do you want? What do you want to see happen in 5 years? What does your business look like? What do your relationships look like?" Really, sometimes you have to dig a little bit, but man, now you're really having a conversation with that person, and they've kind of let you in. And that's really
mhm.
powerful.
Yeah, having a conversation versus, a prescripted, okay, so they said this, oh, now I gotta move in this direction. Oh, now they answered this, so I gotta move in but having a conversation.
You can
And
feel when people are doing that, Christine, right?
yeah,
You can
yeah,
feel when somebody's going, "Oh, okay, this is like a tech help or something. Oh, this is happening, so I'm going to do this."
yeah.
That's not a conversation. I don't really believe in scripts. I believe in some structure to the
Mhm.
conversation,
Right.
and I believe in sharing that with whoever you're talking to. This is what we're going to do. So I
Yeah,
definitely believe in the structure, but yeah, yeah,
yeah.
the
So
script.
so so the big key here is the being authentic and making connection. Is that right?
Making that soul to soul connection with that
Yeah.
person, instead of like business to business, or just potential client to business owner. We got it. I mean, I work with people who want to do that, who want to have more of a soul to soul conversation, because I work with heart centered business owners like you.
Mhm.
And they don't really want to do it in any other way, and many clients who come to me, they're having some success, but it is like a chore for them. They know they have to have some conversations for the most part, and that chore, it can really bring down your business if you're looking at it that way, versus having a soul to soul connection with someone, and then figuring out what's best for all, the
Yeah.
greater good.
Yeah. Now, some of our listeners might be listening to us talk about this and they're thinking, "Oh my goodness, these conversations, I don't have time to go that deep." How long of a conversation in general
I
would you
love that
say
you're
it
asking
takes?
this question, because it goes to, like, I had my business with Brian for about 3.5 years. I ended up starting to work with like seven-figure business owners at their live events.
Mhm,
And oh my gosh, I fell in love with it. This solidified the falling in love with sales, because I was for 3 days doing back-to-back coaching sessions with people, 15 minutes apart, or 15, they were 15 minutes long with each person, and I would talk to hundreds of people, and it was great training for me, but I had to, like, you know sometimes I more virtually, sometimes I'm not making the offer and the offer comes later, But, live and in person, I was making the offer right there within that 15 minutes. So I had to be very clear about my structure, very clear about the information I needed from them, and build that rapport to see if the program was even right for them.
Mhm.
So listen, I've been doing this for a long time, so 15 minutes. But but for most people, I would suggest, if you're really just starting out, to plan for like about 20 minutes to half hour, and then buffer in 15. And then as you get more experience, you can make that shorter. But you want to have enough time in the beginning to work things out, but you also
Mhm.
don't want to have like a lot of wasted time in between, because 10 minutes in, you may be like, this is not a good client for me. I'm not a good fit for you, and
Right.
then you don't have another call for another 45 minutes. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, no, and I know some people that are scheduling an hour-long call, and when I hear this, I'm like, "No, no, 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 you don't need to be doing an hour." A
Yes.
and I would imagine though too, after people are leaving your conversations, I know a lot of times with my conversation, people are leaving, and even if we aren't a right fit, they're leaving in a much better place. They're feeling heard. They're
Yes.
feeling understood.
Yes.
Um,
And the problem with the hour-long conversation, like I even feel this way about coaching sessions, that we don't need an hour. Like we just
mm,
really don't. And what's going to happen, especially if you're a coach or consultant, is often you will just fill them up and complete them for the
mm,
moment. That's what you have to remember, is I want to help them. I want to help them. Great. Get them involved. If they're a good client for you, get them involved with working with you. Don't just give them a big hit and run and send them off on their way with no, thinking that they can go out there and do it by themselves, because the majority of us can't. That's why there's such a booming, um, business of coaching, period. Not just business coaching, but lots of different coaching. And
mhm.
and so we don't, I'm not saying not give your 100%, but if you're going to have an hour long conversation, you're going to give way more than that person's actually going to be able to implement or integrate into themselves if you're talking to them for an hour.
Yeah,
And then maybe they're not going to ever come back and talk with you again. So, right? I
right.
mean, so that's
Yeah,
just like, it's just not healthy for you, for
mhm,
your time, and it's not healthy for them, for what is, again, being an advocate for them on what is the best for them. So I
yeah.
really discourage hour-long conversations.
Okay, I hope our listeners are paying attention to that
Do
tidbit right there. Um, your story and your authentic story,
Yeah.
where does this come in to all of this?
Well, it's kind of a lot of things. Brian and I's business way back in the day was called Authentic Marketing Made Easy, because that was just a powerful place for us, just as we had grown together as a couple, and people that we were around. We work with a lot of healers and practitioners, who want to definitely have, genuine words coming out of their mouths and sentiment and all that. And and one of the things I really learned about an authentic story, the first thing I learned was, when you're looking at your authentic story, it's not your resume of what you've done. I see a lot of bios where it's like, I've done this, I'm certified in this, I've done all that, and it's like, that's great. And who are you? Who do you be? That's the authentic story, brings in who you are being and what you care about and what your values are and what your transformation has been. And, we had our conversation with our coach, and she was just like, you are, we were doing life purpose work at that point. And she's like, you're doing life purpose. Your coach is not in your purpose, because you have this whole tool shed back here of all your experiences between the two of you. And you're basically saying, here's your purpose. Now go out and live it, and you can be going, okay, here's your purpose, and let's make money. Let's monetize. But you were
Mm,
withholding that. So sometimes when you're trying to look at your authentic story, I could talk about this all day, but because there's so many elements to it. But part of it is like looking in what you've done in your past, what your transformations have been, and bring those in. So it's bringing your whole full self into your business. and not having to separate, if that makes sense.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, no, it does. I appreciate that because I've always been I want to say black and white. I'm very methodical and okay, so these are my credentials. This is what I can do for you. It's like, but in these last couple of years of taking more time for the personal, the inner work with myself, I'm able to pull out more of the true authentic me, and it is making a difference in my business.
Love that. I watched that transformation too, by the way. I literally watched at least the beginnings of that transformation with you. It's such a beautiful shift, and it's like, oh, I see all of Christine now. And
Mhm,
then that just energetically attracts your right and perfect client to you when you
mhm,
are expressing all of yourself instead of, coming from that logical brain. It's like that's where the heart comes in and the
mhm.
vulnerability and the connection, the true connection, that soul to soul connection comes.
Well, and I know for me, for so many years, I'd walk away from conversations saying, "They don't get me. They don't understand me," and I don't feel that way anymore.
I
So
love
it's
that.
definitely the shift,
Yes.
um, that the authentic, story, the authentic self. Paige, we could go on for
I
hours.
know.
You'll definitely have to come back to make it click,
Oh, I love
uh,
it.
for part 2. If someone wants to get a hold of you, do you have something special that you would like to offer them?
Do. I definitely do. So I am putting together this little bundle. I'm actually putting the finessing little touches on it this evening. So what you can do is you can email me at paige@pagestapleton.com. It's there on the screen for you, Paige. And this bundle is so cool because it is 3 different videos. One is a morning mindset practice that I do every morning. It's called 555. I go into the elements of the 555 and why you need to do it, because we need to remember what the truth is as we go into our day with every parts of our day, particularly around the sales conversations, because you need to remember the truth, um, and then about yourself and the support that you have. And I have a video there of that, the morning mindset practice. And then also on revealing your authentic story. So I go through some exercises to help you to pull out what your authentic story is so that you can bring your wholeness to your conversations, to your networking, to your speaking, whatever you're doing, to your copy, and pull out those elements. Lots more to say about that. It's in the video. And then I have my soul to soul connection conversation process, because I do believe that sales is conversation. And this is literally giving you the structure of how I have a sales conversation. So I go through the whole from inviting someone to have a sales conversation to the actual conversation, and I share the structure and some great tips on how to make that even stronger for every sales conversation. So I will send you that for free.
And that's Paige@pagestapleton.com. What should they put in the subject line?
Just put free gift, and I'll
Okay.
know.
That works. That works. So it's free gift in the subject line and Paige@pagestapleton.com. I think I'm gonna have to rush over there and get that myself.
Good
Paige,
reminder.
this has been a wonderful conversation. Thank you so much for joining me today on Make It Click.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Christine. It was a pleasure. Not long enough, but a
Oh,
pleasure.
yeah. Yeah. You'll be back. Okay. Thank
Yes.
you.
All right.